Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are staring down the barrel of a situation that feels...
Well, it feels heavy. And I mean that literally. If you are anywhere in southeast Queensland right now, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The air has weight to it.
It does. It's thick, it's oppressive,
Mm-hmm.
and honestly, it's making everyone a little bit on edge.
Yeah, it really is. Now, before we unpack exactly why this is happening and where it's going, I do want to mention that this deep dive is brought to you by pressreleasecloud.io, your content creation and distribution experts.
That's right. And look, if you are listening to this in Brisbane or Ipswich or out on the Gold Coast, this isn't some abstract conversation about climate patterns in a textbook.
No.
This is happening right outside your window, right?
Exactly. So let's just set the scene properly. It is February 12th, 2026. For the last few days, we have been absolutely baking in a severe heat wave.
Just relentless.
I checked the logs this morning. Ipswich hit 37 degrees Celsius yesterday. 37. And that's not even accounting for the humidity, which makes it feel like it's over 40.
Oh, easily. The Brisbane CBD was sitting at a sticky 35 degrees. You walk outside and you are sweating before you even get to your car.
It's the kind of heat that just saps your energy. You don't want to do anything. You just want to sit in front of the air conditioner.
But here is the hook, and this is why we are doing this this emergency deep dive right now. We are all waiting for the relief. Right?
That's brilliant.
We are waiting for that cool change to sweep through and just clear the air. And the forecast says relief is coming. But there is a massive catch.
It's a very, very steep price to pay for a cool change. We are looking at a classic, and I have to say, quite a dangerous case of what we call weather whiplash.
Weather whiplash. I like that term, although I definitely don't like the implications of it.
It's really the only way to describe it. We are pivoting from a state of extreme heat stress to a state of severe flood threat.
And how long is that pivot?
The transition period is almost non-existent. The narrative arc of this week is shifting from stay hydrated and stay inside to get your sandbags and get to higher ground in the span of maybe 24 hours.
That is incredibly fast.
Yeah.
So our mission today is pretty specific. We aren't here to just read you the rain forecast. You have an app for that on your phone.
Right.
We want to understand the mechanics of this system. Why is this specific one happening? Why now? And I guess, why is this specific setup so much more dangerous compared to a standard Queensland summer storm?
And to do that, we've gone through a massive stack of press releases and technical bulletins from the Bureau of Meteorology, from Queensland Disaster Management, and some local safety guides as well, all of which were provided via pressreleasecloud.io.
Okay.
And when you start to layer these sources on top of each other, a very clear and, frankly, a very concerning picture emerges.
And that picture is of a perfect storm. Now, I know that term gets thrown around a lot, in movies and books, but in a meteorological sense, it means something very specific, doesn't it?
It does. It's not just hyperbole. It refers to a convergence of multiple independent factors that, on their own, might be manageable, but when they combine...
amplify each other.
Exactly. They create a feedback loop. In this case, we have what you could call a locked atmospheric pattern, and it involves two key players, a stalled trough and a blocking high-pressure system.
Okay, let's pause there and really unpack this, because when I hear stalled trough, my brain pictures a car broken down in a lane on the highway, causing a traffic jam. But I have a feeling the atmospheric version is much more destructive.
It's significantly worse, and that analogy is actually pretty good. To understand why this isn't just a normal storm that passes through in an afternoon, you have to look at the gears of the atmosphere. And right now, we have two major components grinding against each other right over us.
Okay, component A.
Component A is the engine. It's a low-pressure trough that's just sitting, parked, right over central and southern Queensland.
And for those of us who might have skipped geography class, a trough is basically a zone of low atmospheric pressure, right? An area where the air is rising.
Think of it as an atmospheric vacuum cleaner, or maybe a convergence zone. In the southern hemisphere, rains flow clockwise around a low-pressure system. So this trough is acting like a central hub, and it is drawing in air from all directions.
But the critical part, I'm guessing, is where it is drawing that air from.
That is the absolute key. It is tapping directly into the Coral Sea.
Which is bathtub warm right now.
Exactly. So it's not just pulling in air. It is dragging massive amounts of tropical moisture, pure energy, down into the subtropics. We actually measure this using a metric called precipitable water, or PWatt.
PWatt? Sounds like a sound effect from a cartoon.
It sort of does. But what it measures is essentially how much liquid water is suspended in the column of air directly above your head if you could somehow wring it all out like a giant sponge.
And what are those values looking like now?
They are off the charts for this time of year. We are seeing truly tropical levels of moisture being injected into the region. So, to go back to our analogy, the trough is the engine,
And the moisture is the fuel.
the highest octane fuel you can imagine.
Okay, so we have the engine running. It's pumping all this moisture in, creating clouds, creating rain. Normally, in Australia, our weather systems move. They travel from west to east. It flows. Storm comes, it rains, and then it leaves. Why isn't this one moving on?
And that brings us to component B, the second gear in this machine.
The roadblock.
The roadblock. It's what we call a blocking high. There is a massive, powerful, high-pressure system centered over the Tasman Sea, just off the coast of New South Wales and southern Queensland.
And high pressure is the opposite of the vacuum cleaner. It's pushing down.
Exactly. A high-pressure system is a dome of descending, heavy, stable air. It's dense. And in this case, it is acting like an enormous brick wall in the atmosphere.
A wall.
It creates what meteorologists sometimes refer to as an atmospheric block. The low pressure trough, with all its rain, wants to follow the natural flow and move east, out to sea. But it physically cannot. It can't push against the sheer density and weight of that high in the Tasman.
So the rain engine is running at full throttle, but the car is stuck in the garage with the door closed.
That's a great way to put it. The trough is trying to move east, it's hitting this wall of high pressure, and it's just getting stuck. It's deflected.
So instead of the rain sweeping over Brisbane and leaving,
The system is going to park itself on top of Brisbane, and it creates a conveyor belt of rain. The engine keeps running, keeps pulling moisture from the Coral Sea, and just keeps dumping it on the exact same catchments for days.
and that right there is the mechanism for serious flooding. It's not just about how heavy the rain is in any given hour. It's the duration. It's the relentlessness.
Precisely. If you get 50 millimeters in an hour and then the sun comes out, the drains can probably cope, they recover. But if you get 50 millimeters every 6 hours for 3 or 4 days straight,
You have a disaster.
you have a major disaster. And that brings us to the third ingredient in this dangerous cocktail, which is that temperature crash we talked about.
Right, the relief we were all hoping for.
This so-called relief. What we're actually seeing is an upper-level trough bringing very cool, dense winds up from the south. The numbers are stark. We're looking at a predicted 10-degree drop between Thursday and Friday.
10 degrees.
The Brisbane CBD goes from a sweating, humid 35 degrees down to a much more comfortable 25. The western suburbs, like Ipswich, could see drops of up to 12 degrees.
See, on paper, that sounds absolutely lovely. I think most people hear 10-degree drop and think, finally, I can get a good night's sleep. But you're telling me that dramatic drop is actually a trigger.
It's an explosive trigger. It's basic thermodynamics. Heat is energy. We have this massive pool of hot, humid, high-energy air that has been baking Queensland for days. Then suddenly, we're going to slam a wedge of cold, dense air underneath it.
It's like pouring cold water into a hot glass pan.
It shatters. It creates massive atmospheric lift. The warm, moist air has nowhere to go but up, and it goes up violently. This creates what we call convective instability
And that's the scientific term for.
for very, very angry thunderstorms. So before we even get to the widespread, soaking rain that causes the flood, we have to deal with the clash. This is what fuels the dangerous lightning, the damaging winds, and potentially even large hail in some of the initial cells.
So just to recap the mechanics, we have the atmospheric dam, the high-pressure system trapping all the moisture.
Mm-hmm.
We have the tropical engine, the trough pumping that moisture in from the Coral Sea.
Correct.
And we have the cold front providing the spark that makes it all explode. It really is a perfect storm scenario.
It is the literal definition of one.
Okay. Let's talk about the timeline.
Mhm.
Because if I'm listening to this on my way home from work or in the office, I need to know when this all kicks off.
The turning point, according to all the models, is Thursday evening, roughly around 6 p.m.
Just in time for the evening commute home.
Oh!
Fantastic.
Unfortunately, yes. That's when we expect the first of these powerful storm cells to start forming to the west and southwest of Brisbane out towards Toowoomba and the Lockyer Valley.
And they'll move east.
They'll start marching east. And the first signs won't necessarily be the steady rain. It'll be the pyrotechnics,
The light show.
the incredible lightning, the deep rumbles of thunder, and those powerful gusty winds that we just mentioned. The initial phase is violent.
Okay, so Thursday dinner time. The sky turns dark and angry. What happens as we go overnight into Friday?
Thursday night into Friday morning is what we call the saturation phase. The character of the rain begins to change.
How so?
It stops being these sporadic, intense thunderstorm cells and starts to merge into a continuous, heavy, soaking rain, the kind that just doesn't stop.
And then comes Friday. All sources we've looked at are calling Friday the danger day.
Friday is absolutely the danger day. This is the point when that locked atmospheric pattern is fully established and the conveyor belt is running at maximum speed.
So that's when the heaviest falls are expected.
The heaviest and most widespread downpours are predicted for Friday. We are looking at rainfall totals of 80 to 150 millimeters in the Brisbane CBD alone, and that's just on Friday.
150 millimeters. And what about the weekend? Does this block finally break down and move away?
Not immediately. The intensity might dial back slightly, from catastrophic to just very heavy. But the showers are forecast to persist right through Saturday. Sunday could even see another pulse of moisture bringing 20 to 40 millimeters.
So there's no real break. Okay, I want to pause on those numbers because I feel like we hear 100 millimeters on the news and our eyes just glaze over. It's just a number.
Right.
But what does 80 to 150 millimeters of rain actually mean for a city like Brisbane in terms of sheer water volume?
It helps to visualize it. Let's take 150 millimeters. That's 15 centimeters, or about 6 inches. Now, 6 inches doesn't sound like much if it's in a bucket.
Yeah.
But imagine 6 inches of water covering every single square meter of the entire city. Every road, every roof, every park, every footpath. We are talking about billions of liters, gigaliters of water falling from the sky onto a surface that can't absorb it.
And it's not falling evenly, is it? That's another key point.
No, and this is a critical point that people must understand. The western suburbs are forecast to get generally 100 to 150 millimeters, but the forecast explicitly warns of isolated peaks.
So what could that mean?
We could see some areas getting up to 210 millimeters, maybe even 300 millimeters cumulative over the 4 days. These are isolated pockets where a storm cell just anchors itself and dumps.
300 millimeters. That is a foot of water falling out of the sky.
It is. And the really important takeaway is that a forecast of 150 millimeters doesn't mean it's spread evenly like butter on toast.
No.
One suburb, say, Indoor-Brookley, could get a deluge of 200 millimeters because a storm cell just happens to stall there for a few hours. Meanwhile, a few kilometers away in Toowong, they might only get 80 millimeters.
So you cannot rely on the general citywide forecast to tell you exactly what is happening on your specific street.
You have to watch the radar. You have to be aware of your local conditions.
Now, here is something that always confuses me, and I think it confuses a lot of listeners too. We've been in a heat wave. The ground is dry. It's cracked. Shouldn't that be a good thing? Doesn't dry ground soak up water like a sponge?
It is one of the biggest and most dangerous myths in hydrology.
Really?
It's actually the complete opposite. Think about a dry sponge you have in your kitchen. If it's been sitting out and it's bone dry and you run the tap over it, what happens for the first few seconds?
The water just bounces off, it beads up and runs off the side. It takes a second for it to start actually absorbing the water.
Exactly. Now magnify that to the scale of an entire landscape. Brisbane has very clay-heavy soils. When that clay dries out in a 37-degree heat wave, it physically changes. It shrinks, it compacts, it hardens.
So it becomes like concrete.
It's very much like concrete. But there's also a chemical process happening. The organic matter that's in the soil can break down in the intense heat and create a sort of waxy residue on the soil particles themselves.
A waxy residue. So you're saying the soil literally becomes waterproof.
It becomes hydrophobic. That is the technical term.
Yeah.
Hydro meaning water. Phobic meaning fear. It fears water. So when that first heavy burst of rain hits on Thursday night, the ground is going to act like a paved car park. The water doesn't soak in. It sheets off immediately.
So we get immediate runoff, and all that water goes where?
Straight into the gutters, then into the storm drains, then into the creeks. It takes time, maybe hours, for the soil to soften and rehydrate and actually start drinking the water. But here is the catch.
There's the catch.
By the time the soil finally softens up, maybe by Friday morning, we've already had so much rain that the soil profile is completely full. It hits its saturation point.
So it's a double whammy. First, the water can't get in because the ground is too dry and hard. Then, a few hours later, it can't get in because the ground is too wet.
Exactly. There is no buffer. The Earth itself cannot help us manage this volume of water. It all has to go into our engineered drainage infrastructure.
Which was designed for a different kind of rainfall.
It was designed for averages, not extremes.
This leads us perfectly into the geography of risk. Because if the water can't go down into the ground, it has to go sideways. So who is in the bullseye here?
Everyone in southeast Queensland needs to be alert. but the risks are structurally different depending on where you live. Let's start with what we can call urban vulnerability. That's the Brisbane CBD and the dense inner suburbs.
This is the concrete jungle problem, right?
It is. In the city, we have paved over almost everything. We call these impervious surfaces, roads, roofs, car parks. If you are in the CBD, and specifically in low-lying areas like Creek Street, Eagle Street, or parts of South Brisbane, you are relying 100% on the stormwater drains.
And Creek Street is named Creek Street for a very good reason, folks.
It is. There's a creek buried under there, and the water remembers its old path. When the rainfall rate exceeds the capacity of those pipes, which will happen very quickly in these violent storms, the water has nowhere to go. It backs up onto the street. This isn't a river flood. It's a flash flood caused by local runoff.
And we have to talk about the suburban creek catchments, too. Places like Breakfast Creek, Inaugural, and Kedronbrook, Norman Creek.
These are what hydrologists call flashy creeks.
Flashy sounds like a compliment. In this context, I'm assuming it is not.
It is not. It means they have a very short time of concentration.
What does that mean?
That's the time it takes for a drop of rain that falls at the very top of the hill at the edge of the catchment to travel all the way down and reach the bottom of the creek. For the main Brisbane River, that time is days.
Okay.
For a creek like Kedron Brook, it can be a matter of minutes. They can go from a dry trickle to a dangerous raging torrent in under an hour if the rainfall in their catchment exceeds that 100-millimeter threshold in a short period.
Which means you don't have time to move your car if you parked it near the creekside oval.
You barely have time to walk away safely. The speed of the rise is terrifying.
Okay, so that's the city and the inner suburbs. What about the other suburbs? The topography, the shape of the land plays a huge role here.
It absolutely does. We have what we call the basin suburbs. These are names everyone will recognize. Rocklea, Oxley, Fairfield, Yeronga, Windsor.
I know those areas well. They're quite flat, very low-lying.
They're essentially at the bottom of the topographical bowl. When water runs off the surrounding hills, places like Maruka or Highgate Hill or Ascot Gravity, pulls it all down into these basins.
It sits there.
It pools there and has nowhere to go. If you live in these areas, you know your history. You know these names from the floods in 2011, from 2022. The risk here is significant because it's not just creek flooding, it's overland flow filling up the entire suburb like a bathtub.
And then we have what you've called the Western Front. I'm thinking of places like Mogill, Bellbarry, Corona Downs.
Yes. The risk there is slightly different. It's the catchment effect. Remember, all the rain that falls out west feeds the rivers, the Brisbane and the Bremer, that then flow into the city. So even if it stops raining in the CBD, the water from the west is still coming down the pipe.
A flood pulse.
A flood pulse. But for those residents who live out on those peninsulas specifically, the immediate risk is isolation.
Right, getting completely cut off.
Moggle Road goes under, the ferry stops running. You might be perfectly safe and dry in your house up on a hill, but you cannot leave. You are effectively on an island. You can't get to work, you can't get to the shops, and emergency services can't get to you easily.
I want to mention the dams quickly. Wivenhoe and Somerset. There is a tendency, I think, for people to hear about heavy rain and think, oh, the dams are low, they'll catch the water, we are safe.
That is a very dangerous misconception. The dams are incredible pieces of engineering. They are flood mitigation tools, yes. They are designed to hold back the water from the upper Brisbane River catchment, but, and this is a vital point,
They can't stop the rain that falls downstream of the dam wall.
exactly. If the rain falls over Ipswich, Wivenhoe can't catch it. If the rain falls over Kenmore, Wivenhoe can't catch it. The dam saves the city from the big river headwaters, but it can't do anything to stop the creek in your backyard from rising. It's the local runoff that often floods the suburbs, not the main river itself.
That is a critical distinction to make. The dam handles the marathon. The local storm drains have to handle the sprint. And this event is a sprint.
A very fast sprint. And we
Yeah.
should zoom out just briefly. This isn't just a Brisbane story. The regional scope of this system is huge. Central Queensland, places like Emerald, Blackwater, they're facing significant creek rises. And this system extends all the way down into far northeast New South Wales.
Wismore, Tweed Heads, Byron Bay.
Yes. And those communities, my heart goes out to them. They are so often still in the process of recovering from the last major flood.
It's a compound trauma, isn't it?
It is. The ground might have physically recovered, but the infrastructure, the finances, and the community resilience are still incredibly fragile.
Okay, we've covered the where and the when. I want to get into the physics of this now, because I think a lot of us, and I will include myself in this, we have this she'll be right attitude. When we see water on the road, we see a flooded dip, and we think, my car is heavy, I've got a big SUV, I can make it through that.
And that mentality is fatal. It's responsible for so many flood-related deaths. We need to talk about the physics of floodwater because it completely defies our intuition. There are two numbers that everyone listening needs to memorize: 15 centimeters and 60 centimeters.
Okay, 15 centimeters, that's what's barely ankle deep on me, maybe shin deep.
It's not deep at all. But if that water is flowing, just 15 centimeters of it is enough to knock a full-grown adult off their feet.
Really? That seems impossible. I weigh 80 kilos. How does a little bit of water move me?
It's about density and leverage. Water is incredibly heavy. 1 cubic meter of water weighs a ton.
A literal ton.
1,000 kilograms. So if that water is moving at even a moderate pace, say 2 meters per second, it has tremendous momentum. It hits your legs with a huge amount of force. But at the same time, it also reduces the friction between the soles of your shoes and the road surface.
So it pushes you and it sweeps your feet out from under you at the same time.
Exactly. And once you fall, you are now in the flow. You're buoyant, you're disoriented, and you cannot get the leverage you need to stand back up against that current. It's an incredibly dangerous situation.
Okay, so 15 centimeters knocks you over. What about 60 centimeters? That's about 2 feet knee-high, maybe?
60 centimeters of flowing water can float most vehicles, and that includes large four-wheel drives.
Even the big, heavy SUVs, the ones that everyone buys specifically for safety.
Sometimes, especially them, because of the big tires. We need to think about Archimedes' principle here. Your car, no matter how tough it looks, is essentially a watertight metal box filled with air.
It's a boat.
A very, very badly designed boat, but a boat nonetheless. And your tires. They are massive balloons filled with air. As the water level rises up the side of the car, those tires create a huge amount of buoyancy. They want to float.
Right.
As soon as the water level reaches the chassis, the upward lift created by the tires and the air-filled cabin becomes greater than the weight of the car pressing down.
And you lose contact with the road.
You lose all friction. Your steering wheel does nothing. Your brakes do nothing. You are no longer driving a car. You are now piloting a 2-ton steel projectile with no rudder moving at the speed of the current.
And there's a point you made in the notes about modern cars, isn't there? That they are actually more dangerous in this scenario.
Paradoxically, yes. Old cars had gaps around the doors. Water would leak in quite quickly, which would weigh them down and make them sink faster. Modern cars have excellent door seals to keep road noise out.
Which means they float better and for longer.
Exactly. Which sounds good, but it means you float further out into deeper, faster-moving water before the car eventually fills up and starts to sink.
So you're trapped in a sinking glass cage in the middle of a torrent.
It's a terrifying image. So when you see those pictures on the news of cars floating down a street, it's not because the water is 10 meters deep. It could be just 2 feet.
So the message is clear. If it's flooded, forget it.
Just turn around. Don't drown. It's that simple.
And it's not just water, is it? We tend to think of it as rainwater, like the clean stuff that comes out of the tap. But floodwater it's nasty.
It is a toxic soup. That is the only way to describe it. You have to assume, first and foremost, that that water contains raw sewage. As soon as the stormwater system gets overwhelmed, the sewage pipes overflow into it. It's an unavoidable part of urban flooding.
So you're wading through human waste.
Human waste, agricultural chemicals washed off from farms, oil and fuel from the roads, and all sorts of hidden debris. Broken glass, sharp metal, barbed wire from fences. You can't see your feet. One small cut, and you're looking at serious infections like leptospirosis or tetanus.
And wildlife. I saw a note in the briefing about animal displacement.
Yes, this is a very big one for Queensland. Snakes and spiders don't like drowning any more than we do. As the water rises, they move to higher, drier ground.
And higher ground might be your front veranda.
Or inside your house. Or inside your car if you leave a window cracked open. If you are wading through floodwater, you aren't just risking a bacterial infection, you are risking stepping on a confused, scared, and very angry eastern brown snake that is just trying to stay dry like you are.
Okay, so the new rule is stay out of the water, period. But the danger doesn't stop when the water recedes, does it? The sources were very clear about post-flood dangers.
Electrical safety is number one. If water has entered your property, do not just walk back in and flip the main breaker switch back on.
Why not?
Wiring inside the walls could be wet. There could be shorts behind the plasterboard that you can't see. We see these tragic cases where people survive the flood itself, only to be electrocuted during the cleanup phase. You must get a licensed electrician to check everything first.
And food safety is another one.
Absolutely. If the power has been out for more than 4 hours, your refrigerated food is compromised. If floodwater has touched anything in your pantry, even sealed cans, throw it out. The risk of contamination and food poisoning is just too high, especially when hospitals are already under pressure.
Okay, let's pivot to strategy. We are recording this with the assumption that our listeners still has a little bit of time. The storm really hits Thursday night. If I'm listening to this on Thursday morning, what is the 72-hour mindset that I needed to adopt right now?
The 72-hour mindset is all about self-sufficiency. It is the mental shift you have to make from someone will come and help me to I need to be able to survive on my own resources for 3 days.
3 days.
Yes. You have to assume that if things go bad, help cannot reach you for 72 hours. The SES are sheroes, but in a widespread event like this, they're completely overwhelmed. They have to prioritize life-threatening situations. A flooded living room is not life-threatening.
So, immediate actions. Yeah. Before the rain starts tonight, what's the checklist?
Gutters and drains. Do it now. Go outside, get on a ladder safely, and clear them out. If your gutters are full of leaves from the dry spell, that water has nowhere to go. It will back up and flow into your roof cavity. You'll have a flood inside your house, coming from the ceiling, even if the river never comes close to you.
That's a great point. It's often the internal water that does the most damage. What about things in the yard?
Loose items. The trampoline, the outdoor furniture, the kids' toys. In severe wind, those become missiles that can break your windows or your neighbor's windows. In a flood, they wash away and become debris that blocks drains downstream, causing water to back up into someone else's home. Secure them or bring them inside.
And sandbags. Should people be getting sandbags?
If you know you are in a vulnerable, low-lying spot, then yes. Check the Brisbane City Council website for depot locations, but you need to know how to place them correctly.
It's not just a case of piling them up.
No, you're trying to block the entry points, doorways, garage doors, low vents. And don't fill the bags to the brim. They need to be about half to 2/3 full so they are pliable and can mold against each other to form a better seal.
Now let's talk about the go-bag, the emergency kit. What actually needs to be in there beyond, a torch and batteries?
Water is number one, and the recommendation is 10 liters per person.
10 liters per person. That sounds like a lot.
It sounds like a lot, but it's not just for drinking. It's for basic hygiene. If the tap water becomes contaminated, which can happen when water mains burst, you need clean water to wash your hands, to brush your teeth, to mix baby formula.
Right. And food.
Non-perishable, 3-day supply. Canned food with ring pulls, energy bars, dried fruit, things you do not need to cook. Assume the power will be out, so your microwave and stove are just bricks.
And tech. I feel like tech is more critical now than it ever was.
Absolutely. Power banks for your phones, fully charged right now. If the power goes out, your phone is your lifeline. It's how you get warnings from the BEMM. It's how you check the news. Also, waterproof containers or Ziploc bags for your important documents.
Like what?
Insurance papers, deeds to your house, passports, birth certificates. Better yet, take photos of all of them on your phone now and upload them to a cloud service while you still have power and Wi-Fi.
And we can't forget the vulnerable members of the family.
No, if you have a baby, you need formula, you need diapers. And please, please do not forget your pets. Have a supply of pet food, water, any medications they need, and restraints.
Restraints are important.
Crucial.
Hey.
If you have to evacuate to a shelter, you will need a leash or a carrier for your animal. You can't just carry a panicked cat in your arms through a chaotic situation.
Speaking of evacuation, let's talk logistics. Know your route sounds simple, but in a flood, your normal route changes by the minute.
It does. You need to know your primary evacuation route before the water rises. And you need a backup route and probably a third one. If you rely on a low-lying bridge to get out of your suburb, you have to assume it will be gone.
And for people in rural areas out west, the risk is different again.
For them, it's isolation. Those low-level bridges and causeways go under first. They might be cut off for days, so their preparation needs to be for a much longer period.
And we need to clarify the terminology that we'll be hearing. Flood watch versus flood warning. They sound almost the same, but they mean very different things.
This is a crucial distinction. Think of it like a traffic light. A flood watch is a yellow light. It means the conditions are right for flooding. It's time to be alert. Pack your bag. Stay tuned to the warnings.
Okay, watch is yellow.
A flood warning is a red light. It means that flooding is either expected or is already occurring in the specified area. That is the take action now phase. Evacuate if told to. Move to higher ground.
So watch equals lookout. Warning equals act now.
Exactly. Don't wait for the water to be lapping at your door to start interpreting what the warning means.
Now, impacts on daily life. We all have places to be. We have work. We have school. But the official advice here is pretty stark. Don't travel.
Unless it is absolutely essential for your life or safety, we are looking at major road closures. The Bruce Highway, the absolute lifeline of the coast, has multiple low-lying sections between Rockhampton and Brisbane that go under very quickly. The Warrego Highway, the Cunningham Highway, these are all likely to see cuts.
And there is an app for that, which is essential.
QLD Traffic. Get it on your phone. It is the single source of truth for the road network. Check it before you even think about putting your keys in the ignition. Google Maps is great for finding the quickest route, but QLD Traffic comes directly from the Department of Transport and main roads and tells you what's actually open and closed.
What about flying? A lot of people might be thinking, you know what, I'll just fly down to Sydney for the weekend and wait it out.
Good luck with that. You should expect significant delays and cancellations at Brisbane, Rockhampton, and Sunshine Coast airports. It's not just the rain on the runway that's the problem.
It's the atmospheric instability.
It's the wind shear. It's the lightning. Planes don't like taking off or landing in severe wind shear conditions. The capacity of the airport to move planes in and out drops dramatically.
And public transport.
Buses and trains in southeast Queensland have wet weather contingency plans, but they are subject to the laws of physics. If the train tracks flood, and they always do, at known choke points like Milton or Bowen Hills, the trains stop. It's that simple.
So the general advice is pretty clear. Hunkering down at home is much better than trying to outrun it on the roads.
Absolutely. The safest place to be is at home, on high ground, well prepared, and away from the roads.
We've talked a lot about the hardware, the sandbags, the kits, the gutters, but let's talk about the software of disaster management, the community aspect.
This is so often the difference between a disaster and a tragedy, and it comes down to the check your neighbor protocol.
I love that phrase. It's formalized neighborliness.
It is. Before the storm hits, just look left, look right. Do you have an elderly neighbor who lives alone? Someone with mobility issues? Maybe a new family who just moved to Queensland from overseas and has no idea what 150 millimeters of rain actually looks like.
Just knock on the door.
Just knock on the door and say, hey, are you all set for the next few days? Do you need a hand moving those pot plants? Do you have candles and water? That 5-minute conversation builds the social fabric that gets communities through these events.
And where do we get our information from? Because when these things happen, social media just lights up with rumors. I heard the Wivenhoe Dam is bursting. I heard the Story Bridge is gone.
You have to avoid the rumor mill. It just causes panic and bad decisions. You need to go to the source of truth.
And what are they?
Number 1, the Bureau of Meteorology, the BOM. That is your weather Bible, their website, their app.
Number 2.
ABC Local Radio, 612 AM in Brisbane. They are the official emergency broadcaster. If the power and the internet go down, a battery-powered AM radio will still work. They have a direct line to the authorities.
And number 3, the emergency numbers?
Yes. The SES on 132-500 for storm help.
But we have to be clear. 132-500 is for a tree has fallen on my house or my roof is leaking and causing damage. What is 000 for?
000 is for life-threatening emergencies only. If someone is being swept away in water, if there is a fire, if someone is seriously injured, please do not call 000 because your carpet is getting wet. You are clogging up the lines for people who are literally dying.
So, to synthesize all of this, we are looking at a genuine perfect storm.
We have the stalled trough acting as the engine, feeding the moisture in. We have the blocking high acting as a wall, trapping it over us. And we have the temperature crash, creating the explosive energy for the thunderstorms.
It's a multi-day soak that is going to test our drainage, our soil, our infrastructure, and frankly, our patience.
It is. And it's that transition, that severe weather whiplash, that is the real story here. We are going from 37 degrees and seeking shade to sandbagging our front doors in the space of 48 hours.
It's an incredible test of resilience. It forces us to be adaptable in a way we're not always used to.
It does.
And here's where it gets really interesting for me, and maybe this is our final provocative thought for the day. We build our cities based on averages. We build our stormwater drains for the average heavy rainstorm. We build our power grids for the average hot day.
But we are seeing less and less average weather.
Exactly. What we are seeing is these rapid, violent oscillations. Extreme heat one day, followed immediately by an extreme flood event. So how does our infrastructure, which was designed for a 20th century average climate, cope with 21st century volatility?
That is the billion-dollar question, isn't it? Our concrete and our steel pipes are static. They are fixed, they don't change. But the weather that is interacting with them is becoming increasingly dynamic and unpredictable.
And the gap between those two things?
The gap between our static city and our dynamic climate, that is where the risk lives.
Something to definitely mull over while you are clearing your gutters this afternoon.
Indeed. Be safe.
Stay safe, Brisbane. Check your neighbors, pack your kit, and please stay off the roads. And thank you for listening to this deep dive.
Stay safe, everyone.
This podcast was brought to you by PressReleaseCloud.io, your content creation and distribution experts. We'll see you in the next one.